is Alik Sumbler, and I am a facilitator for a school district here in Allen Parish. And today I have with me Miss Delphine Sumbler. She is a teacher in this parish, and today me and her will be engaging in a discussion about a particular whole class instructional strategy called mentor sentences. And as you see, me and Miss Delphine, we have our round table because I wanted this to be a round table discussion instead of more so like a lecture. I wanted her to be very, very engaged with me as I am with her. So without further ado, we're just going to start. Okay, so on the Louisiana Department of Education website, there are whole class instructional strategies that you can use or implement in your classroom. For example, mentor sentences is one. And also on the website, they provide you with basic information about the strategy and ways you can implement it in the classroom. So it wouldn't be hard for you to go out and find information about these strategies when they are provided on the Louisiana Department of Education website. I provided Ms. Sumbler with the handout from the website as well as me. I have it myself. So I'm just going to start with the basics. So what is mentor sentences? So mentor sentences is basically a protocol for ensuring students to determine sentence level meaning of key sentences in complex grade level texts. So basically mentor sentences is basically a way for students to take a complex or difficult sentence, break it down, understand what it's talking about, and create a different sentence with the same structure. So when can you use the instructional strategy mentor sentences? You can use this strategy after reading the first part of a complex text. Why should we incorporate mentor sentences in the classroom? Mentor sentences help students break down key sentences with sophisticated syntax to better understand the structure of academic language. So, Ms. Delphine, what is a mentor?
Well, for me, a mentor is someone that I would want to be like one day.
Okay, so with using Mrs. Delphine's definition of a mentor, it can help us better understand what mentor sentences really is. Even though we just read the information, sometimes it may be a little hard to understand certain things that are being thrown out to us. So if we can break certain things down, we'll be able to understand it better. So like Ms. Delphine said, a mentor is somebody you want to be like. You know, somebody who's particularly older than you, a little bit more wiser than you, somebody that is in your life that you view as a role model. In mentor sentences, it is a sentence that is used to create a completely different sentence but in the same structure. So if you have a mentor, yes, you want to be like them in some way, in some style or form, but you're a completely different person from them, right? So the student outcomes that are located in mentor sentences derive from a strategy that helps students read complex grade level text and improve their language skills, including understanding and using grade level vocabulary and syntax. So the word syntax is basically an arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences. So that should help you better understand where we're coming from when we talk about mentor sentences.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to just move this briefly right along and talk about how to implement mentor sentences in the classroom.
Okay.
So when you have a classroom full of students, everybody's not going to be on the same level.
Correct.
There will be some students who are going to be above grade level. There are some students who are going to be at grade level, and there are going to be some students who are particularly below grade level. So you might have a classroom where everybody's on grade level. You might have a classroom where everybody's above grade level. You might have a classroom full of kids who are below, or a mixture. It just all depends. So sometimes when we are teaching students different things, when we have these different strategies, it helps us pretty much monitor where students are, and it also helps students be engaged not only with the students around them but with the teacher. So when implementing this in the classroom, number one, it says a teacher should select a sentence from a complex text. It should connect to the unit focus and or be important to the meaning of the text. So whatever unit you are on for, I guess, that week or that month, that's where the text should derive from. We shouldn't be pulling text from different kinds of websites and different kind of things. No, it has to come strictly from what the unit is focusing on. It should also have a sophisticated syntax and or academic vocabulary. So you don't want to be giving third graders a first grade text if they are above the third grade level. Okay, so if we're in third grade and we're all in the classroom reading at fifth grade level, there's no reason I should be giving you a first grade level reading assignment. And if I'm in a classroom of fifth graders and they are reading on a third grade level, it should be no reason why I'm giving them a fifth grade level reading assignment. You have to start and build. So everything should go aligned with what your unit is talking about and what grade level you're teaching on. So, A, would more work with sentence support students in understanding the text and the big ideas of the unit, Ms. Delphine?
Well, I think so.
Okay. And B, does this sentence model grade level language use? You need to make sure that whatever sentence you're using is modeling the level that the students are on. For example, the sentence models what you want to see in your students' writing, or the sentence allows you to address grade level language standards. So again, everything needs to be on the level your students are on. And like I said, even though you might have a classroom of students who are all mixed, you don't want to be pushing different things on different ones. We all know that we're not moving at the same pace. However, we don't want to be moving too fast for the people who are below. It would not need to be moving too slow for the kids who are above. Do you agree, Ms. Delphine?
I do. I think that sounds about right.
Okay, so number 2, in implementing this strategy, we should prompt students to reread the selection of the text prior to analyzing the sentence. So we don't want to just be throwing students anything all blindsided. You want to make sure they have some prior knowledge, and you also want to make sure that they know the text that they're reading. So we're just not going to throw them a random sentence. This needs to be coming from a text that is focused on the particular unit and grade level. Number 3, we need to engage students in following mentor sentence analysis protocol. So with this strategy, there's a certain protocol you have to follow. It's not just read a sentence, make another one. It's an actual protocol that you have to follow step by step that will help the students and guide them along the way. Step 1, you want to ask the students, what does the sentence mean? So you want to show them the mentor sentence, and you also want to prompt them to express understanding of the sentence. So once you show them the sentence, then we can move on. We can say, okay, here's the sentence. Okay? And as we're moving on, we want to make sure they're understanding what the sentence is saying. So like I said, you can't, even though this is coming from a specific text, you want them to understand where the sentence is coming from out of the text.
Okay.
Also, we need to note where students understand or misunderstand the sentence.
Right.
So if they understand it, good, we can move forward. If they misunderstand it and they're not understanding, yes ma'am, you're right, we go back to the beginning and try to gain some level of understanding. And lastly, in the first step, we want to use the information to guide us to the next step of the analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So in step 2, you want to make sure the students are asked, what do they notice, or what do I notice about this sentence? So as we are displaying the sentence, we want to prompt students to share what they notice about the sentence. As needed, provide guiding questions to support students in identifying important components of the sentence. For example, what are the parts of this sentence? Okay, what do you notice about the punctuation? What is the meaning of this certain phrase? Or who is doing what in this sentence? So you want to ask them as many questions as you can about this sentence to make sure they understand what they are reading, and not more so what they understand, but the parts of the sentence, the subject, the verb, the noun, the predicate, all these different things they need to understand and grasp from the sentence. Okay? Step 3. Students need to be asked, what do they know, or what do I know this sentence means? So as we're displaying the sentence, you want to ask them who, what, who, what, did, when, where, why, and how. You want to direct the students to use the sentence as well as unit text to answer the same questions. Then ask students to write a summary of the ideas from the sentence and unit text. Okay, so once you ask students the basics, who, what, when, where, and why, you want them to write this down. Even though we take a lot of things for granted sometimes, we can hear it, memorize it. Children are not like that. You need to make sure children write what they think down so they can see their ideas come to life. That is why in this step you are asked to ask the students to write a summary of the ideas, because we need their ideas to completely come to life. So whatever they're thinking needs to be on a paper. Step 4, you want to ask students, what is the structure of this sentence? As we're displaying the sentence, you want to prompt students to make certain connections between the sentence structure and its meaning. Display a sentence that follows the same structure as the mentor sentence. Prompt students to make connections between the structures of both sentences. Also, guide the class to create sentences frames that model the structure of the mentor sentence. So that was a lot of information at once. You can agree. Okay, so basically in this step, the mentor sentence is the big dog. It's the sentence that you presented in the beginning. But in this step, this is when we are guiding the students into writing a sentence that looks similar to the mentor sentence. That's basically all that step is. You're just guiding them into writing a sentence that has the same structure and similar form as the mentor sentence. And on the last step, the question that is asked students is, can I write a quality sentence? Ask students a text-dependent question and direct them to respond in writing using a sentence frame created from the previous step. And lastly, you want to monitor and provide descriptive feedback and support for students' work. For example, as they write, prompt them as needed by orally reminding them of the different steps in the analysis. So remember, Ms. Delphine, I said this analysis has a certain protocol you have to follow from step by step by step. So you want to make, as this is happening, this is going on in the classroom, you want to make sure that they are following each step. So you might ask, why do students need to learn this? Why do students need to be taught about sentence structure and mentor sentences? This all comes together, okay? As you're asking yourself, why do students need this? Think about you. Think about your writing.
Okay.
So when you sit down to write, remember I said children, their ideas need to come to life. So think about when you write. Let's say you're writing your grocery list. You think, I need milk, eggs, bread, cheese. You write this all down on a piece of paper. And what's the reason why you wrote it?
For me to remember.
Exactly. So you need to know. So for you to know, when I go in the store, I need these things, right?
Right.
So basically, the grocery list that you wrote is to ensure that you go in the grocery store, get what's on the list, and leave. Especially with this corona stuff going around, you don't need to be in the grocery store longer than you have to. So
spend more.
Spend more money or spend more time letting the virus float around. The whole purpose of Miss Delphine writing a list in the grocery store is to get what you need and get out. So when children are writing or brainstorming about a writing prompt, making sure that they are forming quality sentences will make their writing flow. Because sometimes writing can be a hard, making sense. Writing can sometimes be very, very hard for students because children can learn students can learn how to read, and then, they think I know how to read, And parents do the same thing too. My daughter knows how she reads on a 7th grade level, blah, blah, blah. But if your daughter can't sit and write and form a quality sentence, her writing will, for lack of a better word, suck. Her writing will really just be subpar. And in order to continue the language that she uses, the way that she explains or expresses her ideas through words and sentences, that's important, especially as a student matriculates from grade K through 12, beginning to end. Their writing has to basically take a certain form, because once students get to college and they have to write 5 and 8 and 12 page research papers or any type of paper, their writing needs to be able to flow, and it has to start here. So when you make the conscious effort in the classroom to teach how to make a form a quality sentence by using this instructional strategy, you are ensuring that for the next however many years of their life, they are able to form quality sentences that create great paragraphs that also end up creating good papers.
And maybe someone want to go further and write books.
And write a book. So for right now, I'm going to show Ms. Delphine how we're going to implement this in the classroom. So as I stated before, you need to be able to focus on the unit. We do not need to be all over the place, because if you're all over the place, the students are going to be all over the place. So you being organized and structured is going to make a difference. So we're going to be organized in our example, and for this particular unit, we're going to go with, Black History.
Okay.
We're going to pretend like it's the beginning of February, and you are starting a Black History unit. You might not have this unit in your guidebook. This might not, but this is just for the sake of right now. So let me just open up my laptop here. All right. So you probably won't be able to see on the screen, but I have a step-by-step, day-by-day example of how we're going to implement this in the classroom for Ms. Delphine here. She also has the handout. Okay. So these are the 4 books that I picked. I'm like, who's over here? Nobody. Okay. These are the books that I have picked for my particular unit. These books, grades, the grade levels for these books are all over the place. However, they're mostly middle school. So like this is 5 through 8. This one is 3 through 7, 4th through 7th. This one is 3rd grade. This one's 2 through 8. So I have 1 elementary school. Well, that was, 3 elementary school and basically 2 middle school books. Okay, so the first book I have here is Great Lives, a book about Harriet Tubman called To Freedom by Judy Carlson. I also have One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams Garcia, and this book won the Scott Odell Award, the Newbery Honor Book Award, Nonviolent Social Change Award, and the National Book Award finalist. So this book is a really good book if you want to implement this in your classroom, as well as all my other books. I have here also The Watsons Go to Birmingham, 1963 by Christopher Paul Curtis. This is a great book. They also turned this book into a movie. I have an all aboard reading book, and this book is about the Amistad, the story of a slave ship by Patricia M. Kissack. This book is also a movie. The movie for the Amistad might not be grade appropriate, but I know for a fact the movie for the Watsons is grade appropriate if you want to implement the movie in the classroom. And also the last book I have here is The Slave Dancer, a novel by Paula Fox. And this book won the Newbery Medal Award as well. So I try to find books that won awards and that are critically acclaimed, so it wouldn't seem like I'm just picking books all willy-nilly. Okay, so we're going to start with the first book, Great Lives by Harriet Tubman. So I'm just going to pretend like we've been reading this text. Okay, and so I'm going to find a certain sentence in the text. So, all right, I'm on page 17. It says, Master Edward didn't bother much about the slave children, but if he thought they could bring in some money, he, wanted to use them any way he could. So let's just use that sentence for example. So I would display that sentence either on my whiteboard, my Promethean board, my smart board, whatever board I had, I would display that sentence for the students, or I would give them a handout that had this sentence on it. So following our steps, go back to our steps. Step 1, what does this sentence mean?
Right.
Okay, so let's look at the meaning of this sentence. So to me, it's saying that Master Edward didn't care about the slave children, and that if he thought they can bring in any type of money or compensation for them being there, he wanted to use them anyway. Okay, so if we have any students have any prior knowledge about slavery or what happened during slavery, they probably could go ahead and say, okay, this sentence means that Master Edward didn't care anything about the children who were slaves on the plantation. Okay, moving on to step B. What do I notice about this sentence? So now we're going to look at the parts of the sentence. So, for example, the subject of the sentence would be Master Edward. He's the subject. The predicate would be didn't bother much about slave children. Okay? Then you would go in and also ask things like, what are the adverbs? What are the prepositions? What are the nouns? You want to make sure students...
diagramming.
Yes. That is the word I'm looking for. You want to make sure students have some type of a diagram of a sentence, knowing what the parts of the sentence mean. All right, so then we're going to move on to step 3. What do I know this sentence means? So this is when we're going to begin to ask the who, what, why, when, where questions. Who? Master Edward. What about him? Didn't care. Didn't bother much. Why didn't he bother much? Well, he was a master of a plantation. He had however many slaves. He probably didn't care about none of the slaves, let alone...
All he cared about was the money they could make.
Thank you. So now we're going to move on to step 4. What is the structure of this sentence? Okay, so now this is where the students actually begin to start to do a little bit more work. The structure of the sentence, to me, what I see from it, is that we have a subject, a predicate, then we have a but. We have a clause there, and then it takes us to another part that says if he thought they could bring in some money, he wanted to use them any way he could. So the structure of the sentence is you have 2 independent clauses here in this sentence. First one about Master Edward and how he didn't care, and the second one about how if he thought they could make money, he could use them. Okay, so you want to prompt students to create a sentence that has 2 independent clauses separated by a but. Okay? Thank you, a conjunction. Thank you, Miss Delphine. Okay, so, you're getting it. So in the last one, we have, can I write a quality sentence? So now you're going to ask them to write a sentence about Master Edward in the same form, but about something different. So if y'all are reading this text, you guys could go ahead and say, for example, Master Edward cared about the workers in the house, but he did not care about the workers on the field. And at that point, students can then see, well, I just broke down this long sentence and I created the same kind of sentence, but with a different context. Right? Okay, so let's move on to a different book. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the Watsons Go to Birmingham. So let's say y'all are reading this book. This is the unit, or this is what the guidebook is telling you guys to focus on this particular week, month, whatever. Just going to flip. Okay, here I found another sentence. On page 57, it says, Larry wasn't like other bullies. He wasn't happy taking a handful of snow and smashing it in your face and running off. Okay? So they're reading about Larry. Apparently Larry's a bully. Using context clues here. Apparently Larry's a bully. So let's start with the steps. We're going to go back to the steps. This is a protocol. So anytime you do this, you refer to the steps. Okay, what do you think the sentence means, Miss Sumler? That Larry wasn't like other bullies, but he wasn't happy just taking a handful of snow and smashing in your face and running off. What does that mean to you?
He wasn't a bully. And he wasn't happy. So that's 2 things.
Okay, so he wasn't like other bullies and he wasn't happy just doing something simple as smacking you in the face with snow and running off. He seemed like he wanted to do something else. Seemed like he was a different kind of bully. Okay, so we're gonna move on to B. What do you notice about the sentence? So let's, here we're going into asking students what are some things that are poking out to you, that are making resonating with you while you're reading this sentence. So if I was asked as a student, I would say, okay, well, to me it seems like I just said, Larry was a different kind of bully. He wasn't happy just doing, small stuff like taking your lunch money or talking about your mama. He wanted to do something else. He was one of the hardcore bullies. That's what's poking out to me. That's what this sentence means to me in relation to the text. So moving on to step 3, what do I know this sentence means? So now we're doing the who, what, why. Okay, who are we talking about? Larry. Mm-hmm. What about Larry? Okay, Larry he wasn't like the other bullies that the speaker or the author had encountered. He was totally different. Why is the author talking about him? Probably because he's giving a certain type of synopsis to tell us about what's going on with him and Larry, or how he encountered Larry, or what Larry does to him. Okay? Now moving on to step 4, this is where you're going to start doing the work, putting the work in. You're going to start breaking down the sentence and asking students to notice connections of the structure of the sentence to its meaning. So that's where we're going in and saying, okay, who's the subject? What's the predicate? And what's separating these two ideas? And here I'm seeing that there is a semicolon separating Larry wasn't like other bullies from he wasn't happy just taking a handful of snow and smashing in your face and running off. So semicolon separates, yet again, two independent clauses. And if you know anything about independent clauses, those are two clauses that can stand alone. They're basically two sentences. So at this point, as you're moving on to step 4, for the students to actually write the sentence that is structured similarly to the one we read, you would tell them, okay, you need to write a sentence about Larry, okay, that you have got from the text, 2 independent clauses separated by a semicolon. So I can say, Larry was the meanest of all kind of bullies, semicolon. He wanted to give you a wedgie and a wet willy. Boom. That is my sentence, similarly structured to the one I just read. 2 clauses, and I would have a semicolon separating both of them.
The more you're going over this as a teacher, I feel like 2 things is happening for me. Mm-hmm. I see, it's like mathematics, the formula.
The formula.
It's a formula. Once you started and you start going back, doing the same thing, but it's a formula.
Okay, so now, as I move on to the other book, I'm going to implement the day-by-day presentation I have for Ms. Sumbler, Delphine. Okay, so these steps can be implemented in one day. You can break down however much time you have to do this in one day, or you can break down these steps into 4 days. Okay, so it's 5 steps. We can break it up into 4 days. And the reason why I say that is because, for example, if your lesson about mentor sentences, quote unquote, is about the Watson go to Birmingham, you can have 4 days to do mentor sentences, and the last day, which is Friday, y'all can sit down and actually watch the movie. So students can have some type of resonation with the text and what they just did.
Good idea.
You think? Okay.
That's a good idea.
Yes. Okay. So now let's move on to the homicide. Now I don't know if the movie is actually appropriate for school children, but there are documentaries and things like that on the History Channel that are free and on YouTube. So if you want to implement a video clip or something like that on day 5, that will be acceptable. So let's pick a sentence. Okay, I'm on page 13, and here we have an illustration of slaves that are chained together. Okay, and the sentence is, chained together in the darkness like animals, the people cried. Ooh, chilling sentence. So day 1, I have down. For this day, let's say today is Monday. We've read the whole book on Monday, because this is a fairly short book. We read the whole book. So Monday, I'm going to ask the students, I'm going to display the sentence on my board. I'm going to ask them, what do you notice about this sentence? You might see exciting words, figurative language, the type of sentence, or even special parts of speech. write down what you noticed. So in my students' book or notebook or whatever reading book I have for them, you're going to ask them what do they notice about the sentence. So do you remember I just said, oh, that was a chilling sentence. So that's what I noticed. What did you notice about the sentence? Let me read it again. Chained together in darkness, like animals, the people cried.
I got scared.
Yes, it gave you it's a very chilling sentence. So some students might write
the dark, the chains.
Some students might write about the darkness. Some students might write about how the slaves were, how the chain reminded them how their dogs are chained. Students might write anything that might have jumped out to them because of this sentence. And that's what you will focus on that day. Stuff that jumped out to them about that sentence. Moving on to day 2. So today's Tuesday, new day. We're going to use what we learned from day 1 and move on to the next step of the protocol. So day 2, I'll tell them, rewrite the mentor sentence exactly as it's written, but skip lines in between. Label all parts of the speech that you know in the sentence. So if you know anything about loose leaf paper, you would have the students write the sentence, but allow room as they skip lines so they can match the words in the sentence to the parts of speech. So, like I said, that goes back to subject, predicate, verb, noun, pronoun. That is when they will begin to make those conclusions on day 2 from the sentence. So, on day 2, Tuesday, you are focusing on the parts of speech in that sentence, and that is solely what you will focus on. Okay? And the reason why I like breaking it down day by day is, like I said earlier, if you're all over the place, the students are going to be all over the place. So if you present them with some type of organization, some type of protocol to follow, it'll make them easier to understand not only what you're asking them to do, but what you are giving in front of them. It wouldn't be so much of a, oh my God, what is this? It's so hard. It will be, okay, so we're breaking this down. Okay? And that can actually give them help in their daily life by breaking things down instead of trying to do things all at once. And somebody once told me that you can't eat an elephant in a day or something like that about a big animal. Sometimes you have to break things down in order for you to completely understand it. Okay, so on day 3, today's Wednesday. So we're going to use what we did in day 1. We're going to remember whatever popped out at us from day 1. And we're going to remember the parts of speech of the sentence from day 2. And now we're moving on to day 3 on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, I'm going to ask them to revise the mentor sentence by making it more descriptive or more exciting. Try adding or changing adjectives, verbs, or specific nouns. And remember to keep the meaning of the sentence the same. So in the other 2 examples, I kept the meaning of the sentence the complete same, except I was changing what was being talked about. So, like I talked about Larry, I still kept the structure the same. I still referred to Larry as a bully. In the other sentence, you remember what I said in the other sentence in the book about Master Edwards? I still said Master Edwards, he was kind of carefree about his slaves. So you want to ensure that the students are keeping that meaning of the sentence the same. You don't want them to change the meaning at all. Because like we went back to the mentor, the meaning of a mentor, if you want to be like your mentor, your role model, you want to be like them. You don't want to be completely opposite from them. So if your role model is very caring and selfless, you don't want to be a selfish person. You want to be just like your role model. So make sure you basically repeat, repetition. Kids learn from repetition. Tell them, make sure that meaning is the same. Don't change that sentence all the way up. You keep the meaning the same. So, like I said in the description for the lesson, you want to make sure they're adding words that are making the sentence a little bit more descriptive. So, if I was a teacher, I would tell my students, try to make the sentence a little bit more chilling. Try to make the sentence a little bit more gripping when somebody reads it. So, if I was going to rewrite it, or if I was going to change it up, I would say, chained together in the darkness like sick dogs, the people cried out for help. That's a little bit more chilling than just, you know what I'm saying? I added a little, and this is all about adding a little extra flavor. So I added a little flavor, like we say in Louisiana, a little lagniappe, a little extra. I added a little lagniappe in there.
Tony Creole.
I added a little Tony Creole seasoning in that jambalaya crawfish pie, filet gumbo. I added something in there that can make the sentence, jump the sentence's meaning. Okay, so that's what you want. That is what you want to provide for the students. You want them to add a little more flavor into what they are writing. And on the last day, which is this is going to be Thursday, we're going to use everything from day 1, day 2, and day 3, and we're going to come on day 4. Okay, and on day 4, I'm going to ask the students to imitate the mentor sentence by keeping the style and structure of the sentence the same, but making it your own. And at this point, they should have brainstormed from yesterday and today. They should be able to create that new sentence that is completely, in all type of aspects, same style, same structure as the mentor sentence. So, from day 1 to day 4, you have broke down how students are going to be able to use this instructional strategy that you're teaching them in order for them to create the same sentence with the same style, same structure, but just a little bit more descriptive, or a little bit more exciting, or a little bit more chilling, or a little bit more gripping, like I said. Something adding that extra flavor into the sentence is basically showing them how to form a quality sentence. So, because sometimes when you're writing, something that you can say could be a little dry, like, I walk down the street. That's a little dry in an essay. You know, that's not enough information, not enough juice for us. You know, not enough meat on them bones.
Right.
So when I say, as I woke up this morning and thought about my day, I began to walk down my street. Okay, that's a little bit more exciting. Or I can say, it began to rain, a heavy rain, as I was walking down the street. It's a little bit more chilling, like it was kind of story gonna kind of be kind of sad. Or I was walking down the street and a rabid dog began to chase me. You know, adding some flavor into a sentence, putting meat on the bones, putting flavor in a gumbo. You know, it's just teaching them how to create quality sentences. So from quality sentences, you have great paragraphs and excellent papers. Because when students get to college, they're going to be writing and typing. And you know, we have problems now where students are faced with, we have these issues with plagiarism. If you instill that in them now, the proper protocol to form a quality sentence, it will be no need for them to go and copy and paste the essay they found the night before. Students will already have it instilled in them to be a great writer. These instructional strategies are teaching students to be great writers, and that is what you want as an ELA teacher. You want students to leave your classroom being great readers, being great writers, something that's going to stick with them and follow with them until they graduate and move on to the next level of higher education.
And what about when they fill out an application?
Exactly. When they fill out an application for a job, when they fill out a resume, you know, I always remember my mom, Miss Delphine, she helps people she is a very good resume writer. She's a resume builder. This is what she does. And she always would tell people, you need to sell yourself, market yourself to yourself to your employer. And if a student's able to form a great quality sentence, they will be able to write a resume that can employer can say, wow, they did all this, I'm gonna hire them. But if they miss this part of school and they wrote a little resume, oh, I worked here, I worked there, that's it, I did that. Well, I mean, I'm gonna look at that as an employer and say, I don't know. But if I'm reading the one who says, as a cashier, I checked out customers, I made sure customers' groceries were of quality, shape, things of that nature, I'm like, okay, I might want to hire her. I might want to see what she got going on. That was a very good point, Ms. Delphine. Do you have any questions about mentor strategies?
No, I just like the way you, honestly, how you brought it out and getting them pumped up and excited for the writing and how and the formula. The more the repetition, like I said, the more they use the same thing over and over, it becomes a part of them. And that's what you wanted to stick with them and come by Friday, you know, like you said, all sorts of stuff you can do. They can look at a movie, they can take the test, but they will know how to put it together because we have done it Monday, we've done it Tuesday, we've done it Wednesday, we've done it Thursday, and all we did was compiled it to make it finalize it on a Friday.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I've enjoyed this, and can't wait to teach my students. I've got my notes.
Well, that is all we have for today about mentor sentences, and I thank everyone for watching, and I thank Ms. Delphine for sitting down and being engaged with the lesson, as well as being engaged with my questions, and having just comments to comment about the lesson. So I think this is the end. I think I'm going to wrap this up.
Thank you.